Welcome! In my previous videos, I have already talked about Hungary's rearmament program, Rapid Corps' participation in Operation Barbarossa, and the defeat of Second Army. The huge losses during these two campaigns forced the military leadership to come up with a new plan, one that would essentially reboot the army, expanding it and equipping it with modern weapons. They called it the Szabolcs Plan. In this video, we'll see how realistic it was. Hungary did not send a new field army to the Eastern Front in 1943. When Horthy met Hitler in April, the Germans did not press the issue, so Second Army could return to Hungary, although parts of it remained behind to augment the occupation forces, and two more security divisions were sent to Ukraine as well. The army was under strength. It needed more officers and NCOs to replace reservists and old World War I veterans. There were not enough heavy weapons and rifles, as the Hungarian industry was shipping a large part of its production to Germany. Many units existed only on paper. These had to be dissolved, although the two armored and the cavalry division slowly started receiving their equipment. Still, the WW2 plan had to be thrown out and replaced with the Szabolcs Plan in October 1943. The new plan envisioned an army in depth, now with triangular infantry divisions, each with 3 regiments and 16,000 men overall. However, equipment was lacking, so instead of having 27 divisions, 3 in each army corps, there would be 8 full divisions, 8 reserve divisions with less equipment, and 8 replacement divisions that would serve as backup. 2 mountain brigades and a light division would join them, along with the border guard units, the 2 armored and the cavalry division. These units would be subordinated to 3 armies and 1 independent armored corps, but despite repeated attempts, the security divisions could not be recalled to Hungary. They remained in Ukraine, so the home army could not be completely reorganized. Modernization stalled. By early 1944, 400,000 men were actively serving in the military, with 1 million in reserve, and another 1 million available for other duties, like the labor service. Roughly half of these received some training, but 130,000 were outside Hungary, at the old Soviet border, in German factories, in a Yugoslav mine, in Ukraine, and on the way to the Waffen-SS. The number of officer candidates had been increased, courses were shortened, but the lack of trained officers and NCOs remained a problem. Within the country, only 4 divisions and the 2 mountain brigades were at wartime strength, but even these could only be equipped at the expense of the inactive formations. 80,000 rifles were missing, along with 20,000 Király submachine guns and 5,000 machine guns. The 81mm mortars were being replaced with the 120mm heavy type, but this program also suffered delays. Medium anti-tank guns were supplanted by heavy 75mm ATGs, but the domestic version was faulty, and Germany would not sell the license, although promises were made to deliver 9 per month. Light howitzers were manufactured along with light and heavy anti-aircraft guns, but the German partner failed to deliver the 152mm guns and the searchlights that had been ordered back in 1941. Even uniforms were not available in sufficient quantity. The supply of winter clothing was very low. Motorization was a huge headache, as the losses suffered by Rapid Corps and Second Army comprised about half of all military and civilian vehicles available in Hungary. The Botond 3 plan could not be completed, as most factories were busy making armored vehicles, so while the Szabolcs Plan authorized 24,000 motor vehicles for the army, only 1,500 were manufactured in 1944. More than 4,000 were ordered from Germany and paid for, but these were never delivered. Because of this, only 2nd Armored Division could be partially motorized. 1st Armored and 1st Cavalry Divisions had to give up all motor vehicles. The mobilized formations, 4 infantry divisions and 2 mountain brigades, received very few trucks, but even these had to be taken away from inactive units. Half-tracks, heavy movers, and tank trailers were completely missing. Tires and rubber were also scarce, maintenance was difficult. The army had plenty of fuel, thanks to domestic oil production, but not the vehicles. The military leadership recognized the fact that medium and heavy tanks were needed in large numbers. The production of the light Toldi and the medium Turan Mark I tanks were stopped, while more Turan Mark II tanks were produced with their short 75mm gun. By April 1944, 275 Turan Mark I and 107 Turan Mark II tanks were delivered, and a prototype of the Turan Mark III with its long 75mm gun was being developed. Assault guns were also introduced, the Zrínyi Mark I with a long 75mm gun against tanks, and the Zrínyi Mark II with a 105mm howitzer to soften up enemy positions. In the first round, 40 Zrínyi Mark II were ordered. These were delivered by mid-1944, while the Zrínyi Mark I only reached the prototype stage. Special versions of the Toldi and Nimrod were developed for command, ambulance, and combat engineer use. Armored units trained extensively, but this caused breakdowns, so training was soon reduced. The two armored divisions had one tank regiment each, with 3 battalions. The cavalry division also received a tank battalion, while the 8 full infantry divisions were to receive an assault gun battalion, each with 30 Zrínyis. Due to low production numbers, this never materialized. The 1st battalion was ready by April 1944. The other 7 had 2 Turan tanks each for training purposes. The Csaba armored cars were no longer desired, only 20 of them were produced in 1944. Emphasis was placed on heavier vehicles. Along with the police, the border guard units also patrolled the border, with 1 or 2 battalions under each army corps. However, more units and fortress companies were placed under 8th and 9th Corps, facing the old Soviet and Romanian border, while the Székely Corner in Transylvania was supplied with enough ammunition and food for at least 4 weeks, in case it was cut off from the rest of the country by a surprise Romanian attack. In peacetime, the 2 mountain brigades were also stationed here, but they were to join field armies upon mobilization, to be replaced with fresh border guard units. The country was not yet bombed by the Allies, thanks to a secret agreement signed in August 1943, according to which Hungary would let Allied bombers use its airspace freely, in return for not being bombed. In January 1944, as the Soviet Red Army was advancing through Ukraine, the Hungarian General Staff ordered the deployment of available forces: 8 infantry divisions, 1 light division, 1 mountain brigade, 2 armored divisions, and the cavalry division. By February, army strength reached 450,000, although 90,000 were still in Ukraine for occupation purposes. First Army was sent to the Soviet border to defend the country in case of a major breakthrough, while Third Army remained behind in reserve. Second Army HQ was responsible for the occupation forces. It could not yet return to Hungary. First Army divided the Carpathians into 2 defense sectors, manning them with 2 infantry divisions, 1 mountain brigade, and various border guard units, with Second Armored in reserve. Mobilization was slow due to a lack of motor vehicles, but also to avoid any panic. Trains were offloaded at night. Hostilities did not yet commence, as the front was still to the east in Ukraine. Hungarian positions were frequently overflown by Soviet aircraft, but in early March, a new threat emerged on the country's western border. When the German occupation happened in March 1944, the Royal Hungarian Army had 2 elite mountain brigades, 8 full and 8 reserve infantry divisions, 2 partially equipped armored, and 1 cavalry division. The country was not ready for war. It needed more time to modernize and fully equip its military, but no more time was available. Soon, it would have to face 2 enemies. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.